Welcome. This is Jane Gardner, and welcome to Solopreneur Success Strategies. Today is Mindset Monday, and in our continuation on Mindset of the Entrepreneur, we're going to be talking about the willingness to take failure as feedback. We all have had failures, and we all try and take action from knowing what we did wrong, or as someone says, no, it is not wrong. It is just a mistake, and you learn from it. So today is the willingness to take failure as feedback. I'm Jane Gardner, and today it's all about Mindset of the Entrepreneur. On Monday, Mindset of the Entrepreneur, we've been looking at the positive attitude. We've looked at the passion. We've looked at the action taking. We've looked at embracing change. We looked at persistence. And now we're going to be looking at the willingness to take failure as feedback. We'll be looking at the why. We'll be looking at the patience of the entrepreneur mindset, the willingness to learn of the mindset of the entrepreneur, and the willingness to listen to others and share with others as part of the traits of the mindset of the entrepreneur. This is Solopreneur Success Strategies, and I'm Jane Gardner. I work with my husband for the last 20 years in a structural engineering firm, and I still do, in Western Canada. So I've had lots of experience with mindset, that's for sure, good and bad. So let's go and have a look at today's training, which is all about the willingness to take failure as a feedback. And let's move that out of the way. Sorry to everybody on audio. I made a mistake, which I won't do again because I've just learned from it. Today it's willingness to take failure as feedback. And as we all know, if you've listened to me previously, and if you haven't, go to jgtips.com/YouTube and go to my YouTube channel as Solopreneur Success Strategies list, and you can look at some of the Mindset Mondays. We've been doing it for about 2 or 3 months, so there's plenty of them there. Imperfect action is better than no action, according to me. As I mentioned, we looked at positive attitude. We've looked at passion, action taking, embracing the change, and being persistent. And today we're going to be looking at the willingness to take failure as feedback. And this was one that I caught my eye as an expression from Caleb Wojcik. And he's an entrepreneur with Fizzle and Pocket. For those of us who are on the internet, we may know at least Pocket, but he's on to various other entrepreneurial activities. Because I believe that was the willingness to take failure as feedback was when he had a partner and they had a business that failed. And so, of course, as you can see, he continues on with other businesses. And so he's willing to take that failure as feedback. And so are we. Because without trying, your chances of success are 0, of course. You have to try. There are countless stories of historical figures that failed time and time again, but didn't give up. Perseverance led them to success, and certainly failure was part of that perseverance. Consider these stories about people who simply wouldn't quit. For example, those of us who are older know, I don't know Babe Ruth, but I certainly know the stories of Babe Ruth. He's famous, I believe he's got the most home runs. Sorry, I'm not into baseball that much, but he's one of the most famous home run hitters in the history of baseball. What many don't realize about Babe Ruth is that in addition, he also had 1,330 career strikeouts, of course, because he was doing it for so long and so popular. Babe once said, "Every strikeout brings me closer to the next home run." That's actually a very good quote. I'll have to use that again because it's true. Every strikeout brings you closer to the next home run. So remember that when you have your next strikeout. Harlan Sanders, also known as Colonel Sanders, is famous, of course, for Kentucky Fried Chicken. When trying to market his chicken recipe to restaurants, he was rejected 1,009 times. In 1952, he finally persuaded a Utah restaurant owner to partner with him, and they launched the first Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurant. And of course, by the early 1960s, there were over 600 locations and many more now. Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein is one of the most brilliant scientists who have ever walked the earth. Did you know that Einstein didn't speak until he was 4 years old and didn't learn to read until he was 7? When he was growing up, one of his teachers described Albert Einstein as mentally slow. But of course, we all know he went on to define E equals mc squared and did many other scientific discoveries. Henry Ford. Henry Ford, the founder of the Ford Motor Company, is famous for his innovations in manufacturing and coming up with the idea of the assembly line. Well, he had several businesses early on in his life that failed. Henry Ford was completely broke 5 times before he found success with manufacturing cars. John Grisham. For those of us who are authors, we certainly know all about the struggles of being an author. He's, of course, a wildly successful author who has sold millions of books now. However, his first book, A Time to Kill, was rejected by 28 different publishers before one publisher finally took a chance on him and printed 5,000 copies. And of course, the rest is history. So I think there's a lot of stories like that, especially about authors. If they're persistent, they finally find themselves a publisher willing to publish their book. Sylvester Stallone. This is one story I didn't know. He's a famous movie star, of course, but of course he was so strapped for cash at one point that he had to sell his dog for $25 in order to pay his electric bill. Just 2 weeks later, he wrote the script for Rocky and started trying to secure a movie deal. Sylvester Stallone was rejected over 1,500 times before, just think of that, 1,500 times he sent out his script. I mean, there's not even that many movie makers. Before United Artists offered him $125,000 for the Rocky script. However, the studio didn't want Stallone to star in the movie, which was one of the conditions that Stallone had put on the movie script. United Artists upped their offer to $250,000 and then to $325,000, which was a lot of money in those days. And Stallone still wouldn't accept the deal unless he was able to star in the movie. So he eventually accepted a different deal that paid him just $35,000 and a percentage of the profits. As we all know, fortunately for Sylvester Stallone, the original movie went on to gross over $200 million. And I'm sure he's still getting profit from that and the many sequels from those movies. So that is certainly a story of persistence and willingness to take failure. How different would our lives be if they had all quit, if Albert Einstein had not continued, if Sylvester Stallone, if John Grisham or Henry Ford or any of the artists, scientists, or thought leaders, if they gave up? Life would be a lot different for us as well. So if you're letting a fear of failure hold you back from accomplishing your dreams, be willing to take failure as feedback. Think of failure as a mistake, is how I do it, and that I'm learning from my mistakes. Should have put that slide in. A failure is learning from your mistake, right? Successful people embrace failure because they realize that there's no such thing as success without it. You learn from your failure what isn't working. You change direction from that experience, or you practice harder, like Babe Ruth, or you change your direction, like Henry Ford, or believe in your dreams and make adjustments, like Sylvester Stallone did. You analyze what happened and make a different offer. A successful entrepreneur always takes the leap, analyzes the failure, and adapts, either going in a different direction, making a different offer, or keeping trying till they get it right. They don't let the fear of failure stop them from trying. They consider failure as feedback and try again. Or, as I have mentioned before, they consider failure as a mistake and that they learn from their mistakes and obviously change direction or change what they're doing. So there is another trait of the mindset of the entrepreneur, having the willingness to accept failure as feedback rather than either not going forward because of the fear of failure, which I think we have talked about in action taking, or the fear of failure stops them. I think I just said that, didn't I? The fear of failure obviously stops them, or the fear of failure makes them quit, or it makes them procrastinate, or they don't recognize failure as just a mistake that they learn from and just change direction. So if you want to develop your success mindset, you can go to http://jgtips.com/smindset, which is S mindset, and you can get the book Develop Your Success Mindset with lots of trainings in there for you to develop your success mindset at jgtips.com/smindset, and to have a look at some of my other shows on the mindset of the entrepreneur, you can go to jgtips.com/YouTube, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel and have a look at all my Mindset Mondays. So there you go. That was pretty good, I thought, about the willingness to take failure as feedback, or we should add on the willingness to define failure as a mistake rather than a failure, and just learn from your mistake. So I'm going to show you my new outro, and it's going to be getting you to subscribe to my YouTube channel or subscribe over at my website so you can get information from me. So thank you very much for listening. This is Jane Gardner, and I am at https://jane-gardner.com, and you can subscribe there, or you can go and subscribe on my YouTube channel here and comment and like it. Thank you very much.